call to order the August 11, 2015 meeting of the Oshkosh Common Council. Welcome to everyone joining us today here in the council chamber, as well as those watching or listening through Oshkosh Community Media Services. We are happy to have citizens participate in their city government in any way, so welcome to all. At this time, I'll ask the Assistant City Clerk to take the roll call.
Peck.
Here.
Pansky.
Here.
Stepanek.
Here.
Clark.
Here.
Allison Osby.
Here.
Herman.
Here.
Mayor Cummings.
Here.
Present 7.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like Councilmember Peck to lead us in the invocation and Pledge of Allegiance.
We come together this evening to discuss the issues that confront our city. May we always seek the wisdom to do things that reflect our concern for the people whom we represent.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And for those of you wondering why we are all dressed alike, we will explain that at the end of the meeting. It is now time for citizen statements. Citizens are to address the City Council only. Statements are limited to 5 minutes, must address items that are not listed on the council meeting agenda, are limited to issues that have an impact on the City of Oshkosh, and the Common Council may address at a future meeting, and must not include endorsements of any candidates or any other electioneering. I see someone standing in the wings. Is that the proper term, Mr. Furlow?
Good evening, councilors. Joseph Furlow, 1230 Devonshire Drive, Oshkosh, President and CEO of the Oshkosh Opera House Foundation, Director of the Grand. I have 2 purposes here tonight. The first is to invite you and the citizens of Oshkosh to the season preview party at the Grand Opera House. We're going to announce the season. The date is August the 29th, a couple weeks from now, 6:30 p.m. at the Grand. There'll be some food, there'll be a cash bar, there'll be music by Dead Horses, and a preview of the new season. And that leads me to the second purpose today, which is to very much, with a lot of pride, announce for you, for the first time publicly, the entire new season, 2015-2016 at the Grand, and we'll do that right now.
Waiting for the break of day.
It's the opposite of attention deficit disorder, so he's just really good at focusing on one thing. Isn't that right, buddy? Right, buddy? Oh, this is where it gets scary.
Come fly with me, we'll float down to Peru. In Lava Land, there's a one-man band gonna toot that flute for you.
She sighed and she swore that she never would betray me. For the devil take the women's bar, they never can be easy. With her in the middle. There's whiskey in the jar.
watch on this heart of mine. I keep my eyes wide open all the time. I keep the ends out for the tie that binds. Because you're mine, I walk the line.
One new body can jet. The prison band was in it, began to wait. The band was jumping and the old began to swing. Should have heard a knockdown, timber swing. Let's rock, 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 rock. Everybody, let's rock, 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 rock. Everybody in the whole damn rock. Who'll dance through the day and rock, rock.
Lost, I know we've all been told. Still can't shake the wind that's cold. Oh, lost, I know we've all been told.
4:53, 4:54, 4:55, 4:56. That's the season. Hope to see you at the Grand in a couple of weeks in the time to come. I'll come to your party, and hopefully you'll come to mine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda are public hearings. The first ordinance, 15-366. I will read it 3 times, and there will be no vote this evening. Ordinance 15-366, approve zone change Bristol Square subdivision from R1 single-family residence to R3 multiple dwelling district with planned development overlay, 4100 block Jackson Street. Plan Commission recommends approval. Ordinance 15-366, approve zone change Bristol Square subdivision from R1 single-family residence to R3 multiple dwelling district with planned development overlay, 4100 block Jackson Street. Plan Commission recommends approval. Third and last time, ordinance 15-366, approve zone change Bristol Square subdivision from R1 single-family residence to R3 multiple dwelling district with planned development overlay, 4100 block Jackson Street. Plan Commission recommends approval. Resolution 15-367, approval of final resolution for special assessments, Cold Neck asphalt paving, Foster Street, and alleys. This is open now to the public for any comments. Come to the microphone, please. You give us your name and home address.
Hello, my name is Laurel Lutke, and our address is 231 Foster Street. We just purchased our home July 16th, and I don't know, we just got this notice July 31st. I was wondering what obligations there are. Are we fully entitled to the fixing of the street, or what the issue is?
Mr. Godey, would you?
The project as it is a cold mix overlay project. Did you actually receive the full packet then, since you just closed, or just get the?
We received it July 31st, and we
Okay.
closed on the 16th.
Okay, it is, the cold mix overlay is proposed for the street. It's a extended maintenance, a little bit heavier maintenance project on the street, designed to give the life of the street, smooth out the ride and extend the life of the street for, code says 3 years. We're still not going back to ones that were done in the early 90s. They're still doing well. So it's a fairly long-term maintenance activity to help preserve the life of the street.
Okay. Okay. All right. Is there anything else that we should know pertaining to the street? No? Okay.
Call
Mr.
up if you
Godey?
have any questions?
Since they're new to the city, do we know the years of their storm sewer and sanitary sewer? And, I mean, obviously, when we do the cold mix asphalt, those streets, we know that the utilities underground are fairly good and will last for the length of the cold mix asphalt, right?
We may end up doing some spot repairs ahead of time, but we will check them, yes, to make sure that they'll be adequate.
Okay, and then if there's changes in that, all the property owners get notifications and things like that, correct?
If we would have to change, and because the utilities are just too bad when we get there, that's, yes, the property owners would all get notified, and we'd have to reschedule.
Okay.
All right, thank
The
you.
other thing might be helpful to know is we have a special assessment policy that offers you payment plans to pay that, so it's not that you'll be coming up with this money immediately or anything like that. We offer a variety of payment options, and you can certainly contact the clerk's office there. They'd be happy to help you explain what the different options. You'll be getting in the mail, but if you want to plan for it, since it was somewhat of a surprise for a new property owner.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Congratulations on your new home.
And because this is a public hearing, I'm required to read it 2 more times before we do take a vote. So Resolution 15-367, approval of final resolution for special assessments, cold mix asphalt paving, Foster Street and alleys. Third and final reading, Resolution 15-367, approval of final resolution for special assessments, cold mix asphalt paving, Foster Street and alleys. Are there any comments from the people in the audience? Bring it back to council for a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Just a question now that, because I'm looking at the address for 231 Foster in our packet here, and that is listed under a different owner that we have. Do we have to change this in here now, or is this common that owners are kind of flip-flopped, if you will?
Well, we receive them prior probably to when they closed. We'll get it updated once they send the sheets back, payment sheets. And then
I would assume that this happens frequently,
Yep.
so nothing to be concerned about?
Nothing to be concerned about.
Thank you.
Could,
Mr. Herman?
yes, thank you, Mayor. Mr. Godey, we have the information, but what alleys are being covered under this? In the, just the agenda just says Foster Street and alleys. Could you identify the alleys that are going to be under this proposal?
Certainly, it's alleys in 2 different locations. The first one is just south of New York Avenue between Cherry Street and Wisconsin Street. And the second set of alleys are, they form a T-shape between the north-south streets of Wisconsin Street and Wright Street and the east-west streets of Prospect Avenue and Scott Avenue.
Okay. Just on a side note, do we have any utilities in our alleys at all in the city? That would be an issue?
In some alleys, there are storm sewer. Typically, that's it, but there could be a few other ones in select alleys, depending.
Okay. And in the alleys, those utilities and things are the responsibility of the property owners that the alley borders?
No, there's still a public utility. The laterals, if there were utility laterals, they would be the property owners, but the general, if it's a mainline utility, would be the city's responsibility. I do not believe there are any utilities in these particular alleys.
Okay, thank you very much.
There are no further questions from the council. I need a motion and a second.
Got the motion in a second.
That's right. Would you please take the roll?
Sure. Peck,
Aye.
Pansky,
Aye.
Stepanik,
Aye.
Clark,
Aye.
Allison Osby,
Aye.
Herman,
Aye.
Mayor Cummings,
Aye.
carried 7.
We next move on to consent agenda items. These are items of a routine administrative nature that are voted on by the council in a single roll call vote. Staff recommends approval of all items. Any member of the public or common council may request that an item be removed from the consent agenda for discussion. Approval of bills presented by the finance director. Receipt and filing of museum board minutes from June 4, 2015. Receipt and filing of common council minutes from July 28, 2015. Receipt of claim filed with the city's insurance company, A, State Farm, on behalf of Denise Busco for alleged damages to her vehicle from a fire truck. Resolution 15-368, approved change order number 2 for Public Works contract number 14-03 with Relico, Inc. for the National Guard Armory Stormwater Detention Basin, $9,856. Resolution 15-369, approved conditional use permit for construction of parking stalls in excess of zoning code limitations at 505 South Washburn Street, Plan Commission recommends approval. Resolution 15-370, approve plan development to allow development of a retail and training center building for Goodwill Industries, Westtown Avenue. Plan Commission recommends approval. Resolution 15-371, authorize purchase of Image Cash Evolution in parens ICE voting equipment in cooperation with Winnebago County from Dominion Voting Systems, $133,297. Resolution 15-372, approval of amendment to special event Oshkosh Outlet Shops to utilize their outlet shops parking lot for the back-to-school concert August 24, 2015. Resolution 15-373, approve appointment to Landmarks Commission. And Resolution 15-374, approve special Class B licenses, agent change for combination Class A license, and operator licenses. Are there any comments from the public? Take it back to the council.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as read.
Second.
Are there any comments? Would the city clerk please take the roll call?
Sure. Peck?
Aye.
Pansky?
Aye.
Stepanik?
Aye.
Clark?
Aye.
Allison Osby?
Aye.
Herman?
Aye.
Mayor Cummings?
Aye.
Carried 7.
There were no items removed from the consent agenda. We now go on to a pending ordinance, Ordinance 15-375, designate signalized pedestrian crossing on Oregon Street for the River Walk. Are there any comments from the public? I'll bring it back to the council for comments. Mr. Davis?
I have a question for him, Mayor.
Mr. Herman?
Mr. Davis, it came in front of the Traffic Review Board, and we approved it, obviously, 7-0. Can you just give us a reason why you felt, or the planning department, in partnership with the Riverwalk, feels that this beacon is needed to alert citizens of pedestrian crossings?
Well, the Riverwalk will be crossing Main Street and Jackson Street because we can't do underpasses right now, or the Oregon Street Bridge technically. So like Wisconsin Bridge, we want to have an underpass someday in the future, but right now we can't do that. So we have to cross at grade, and we're picking safe locations for at-grade crossings. On the south side of Oregon Street Bridge, we don't think people are going to walk all the way down to 6th Avenue to cross at the signals. We're putting in signals right near the bridge, right near the Riverwalk, where we think people will cross regardless of where the official crossing would be located. And police department, traffic, everybody thinks that's the appropriate location to put the crossing.
Okay. And it partnerships with something we're going to approve later tonight, but it partners with the Riverwalk on the east side, even though we're not on the west side of that property yet.
Absolutely. This will be the link between the east side and the west side of Oregon, because we will be awarding a bid, I hope, tonight for the east side construction of Oregon Street. The grant is also paying about half the cost of the at-grade crossing there on Oregon, and we're hoping to extend that Riverwalk further to the west as part of a change order that would be coming forward to the council once we get things straightened out with the DNR about extending that grant.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Are there any further questions from the council? I'd look for a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Would the city clerk please take the roll?
Peck?
Aye.
Pansky?
Aye.
Stepanik?
Aye.
Clark?
Aye.
Allison Osby?
Aye.
Herman?
Aye.
Mayor Cummings?
Aye.
Carried 7.
We have now new resolutions. The first is Resolution 15-376. Approve resolution directing advertisement and sale of approximately $13,805,000 aggregate principal amount of stormwater utility revenue bonds, Series 2015C of the City of Oshkosh, Winnebago County, Wisconsin.
believe that one was revised, wasn't it?
Yes, the total amount that you'll be issuing is $13,115,000. We did receive 6 bids. The winner was Bank of America Merrill Lynch.
Todd, if you could go to the microphone, please, or grab the mic.
I think you moved it on me, didn't you?
He does a better job as a finance advisor than as a performer.
Well, Mark did say that this was part of the entertainment tonight, so I tried to live up to that.
You need a T-shirt.
Yes, I see I'm overdressed tonight, but in any event, you did receive 6 bids. The winning bid was Bank of America Merrill Lynch with a true interest cost of 3.12%. Originally, you had authorized $15,560,000 in bonds. Prior to going out for sale, we reduced the issue size by about $1.6 million as a result of a couple projects that you had planned but are not undertaking this year. So the actual amount that was in the official statement was $13,805,000. We were able to reduce that by another $690,000 based on the sale results to $13,115,000. So that's the amount that you should be approving in terms of the motion this evening. We were able to make that reduction for several reasons. One is you received a very large bond premium of close to $600,000. We were able to use nearly all of that to reduce the issue size. Also, we provide for a underwriting discount allowance. Essentially, that's compensation that's available to the underwriter to take for their role in the transaction. However, the competing underwriters are bidding on that. So in other words, it's a combination of who can offer the lowest interest rate and also work for the least amount of compensation. In this case, there was about $116,000 left on the table, so we reduce it by that amount. And then lastly, because the whole issue has gotten smaller, because this is a revenue bond, it has a debt service reserve requirement, funds that you're required to basically restrict and put on the side as a security to bondholders, and the amount of additional funds you're required to deposit to that reserve was reduced by $48,000 because of the lower issue size. When we roll all of that up together, the long and the short of it is the principal and interest you'll actually pay on this issue versus the estimate we had provided for the $13,805,000 issue is about $809,000 less. So, very nice results, a strong field of bids. As part of this transaction, we also refinanced the Stormwater Utilities 2005 C bonds. This was the oldest set of stormwater revenue bonds that the city has out there. The actual savings for that refinancing is about $272,000 that you'll save over the remaining life of that debt, and that was about $73,000 better than the estimate. As always, we went through the rating process with Moody's. The stormwater utilities rating was affirmed at A1. One interesting aside is prior to 2008, it was very common for bond issues to be insured. And after the financial crisis and all of the large bond insuring companies basically saw their ratings downgraded to the point where they were much lower than the municipalities issuing debt, and therefore the insurance really had no value. We saw that pretty much stop, and there's been a resurgence of that in the last maybe 18 months to 2 years. And actually, your issue sold today will be issued with bond insurance issued by Assured Guaranteed Municipal. What we do is we qualify all issues for insurance. We make that available to the bidders. They have to work that into their bid, so the cost of that premium is covered as an expense of the transaction and also factored into ultimately what is still the winning bid. So this will be probably your first insured bond issue since prior to 2008. So it will carry the A1 underlying rating of the stormwater utility as well as a Standard & Poor's AA rating associated with the insurance company. So that's the summary of the results, and I'd be happy to answer any questions before you act on this.
Just wondered, do you anticipate this continuing, that insurance situation? You said it's first time in quite some time.
Yeah, we're seeing it kind of on a limited basis because prior to 2008, nearly all the insurers were AAA, and none of them have been able to get back and obtain that level of rating. So we're mostly looking at AA ratings. Now, 2 weeks from tonight, I'll be back with the water and the sanitary sewer. Now, we have not gotten the ratings back on those yet, but I think we at least have a fair degree of comfort that we're going to see the AA3 ratings on those affirmed. So it'll be interesting to see whether bond insurance comes into play with those likely being offered at one notch higher underlying rating. I think in this case, because it was a utility revenue bond, which is considered to be a little less secure than a general obligation, and then combined with the fact that we had an A1 level rating, made this an attractive candidate for insurance. So I don't think we're going to see it as a matter of course, but I do think we'll see it in selected instances going forward.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions? I would look for a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
City Clerk, please take the roll.
Peck?
Aye.
Pansky?
Aye.
Stepanik?
Aye.
Clark?
Aye.
Ellison Osby?
Aye.
Herman?
Aye.
Mayor Cummings?
Aye.
Carried 7.
Thank you. Resolution 15-377, approve awarding bid to Michaels Foundation, Geldwin Riverwalk, east of Oregon, $1,164,770.75. I had to put that in.
Don't forget the 75
I had to put 75 cents.
So we don't forget.
Mr. Davis, would you care to?
Just wanted to give the council and the viewing public an opportunity to take a look at what's included with the project at this point. Here's the Oregon Street Bridge, and the Riverwalk would extend from that crossing across Oregon Street along the south side of the river over to the Dockside Tavern. We'll be replacing the sheet piling, the sheet wall that's located there that's deteriorated to the point where we're going to have to build a new one. We'll still finish with all the hard surfaces, with the landscaping, with the benches, with the bollards, the same scheme that we've used for the other segments of the Riverwalk. And then on the next page, this also includes the Oregon Street crossing with the markings and the signs and the Hawk system, which can be moved. The Hawk system is the lighting system, kind of the on-demand lighting thing. And this can be moved if the Oregon Street Bridge actually gets rebuilt and we can go underneath the bridge, we can move the Hawk system somewhere else. So that's what the proposal for the bid award is for tonight.
Thank you. Any questions from the public? Take it back to the council. Questions? Further questions?
I'll make a motion on Resolution 15-377.
Second.
The city clerk, please take the roll.
Peck?
Aye.
Pansky?
Aye.
Stepanik?
Aye.
Clark?
Aye.
Ellison Osby?
Aye.
Herman?
Aye.
Mayor Cummings?
Aye.
Carried 7.
Resolution 15-378, approve change order number 2 to contract number 13-18 with Lunda Construction for construction of Boatworks Riverwalk and restroom, $120,490. Mr. Davis.
Yes, would like to explain what's going on with the project, and I have some photos and a map to show you what was involved with the change orders. The first picture here shows the shelter and the bathrooms, and you can see the path that's been installed at this point in time. More detail there. And there's the ramp that's going up. You can kind of see the piers that are underneath the ramp. The additional rock that we added underneath because you can't get a mowing machine underneath the ramp there. Kind of a broader view that shows the Riverwalk as it comes along the old Boatworks property and loops around. Looking back, you can see you're elevated up. You can kind of see where the Riverwalk will connect to a kayak launch and a canoe launch. And there's the bridge. And the hand railing is the hand railing that expired. So we had the original bid for the handrail was included with the first phase of the project. but that was more than a year ago. So that bid actually expired, so we had to rebid the handrail, and it went up in price, so that was part of the change order. There's the observation platform up on the island. And now you're getting to the far east side, and you can kind of see the bridge portals. Those are the railroad bridge portals that were moved to the site. You can see the one that's actually been installed over the Riverwalk. The second one in the background will be used at another site, and we think on Pioneer Drive, where the railroad tracks actually are. And you can see the 1899 placard is still up there, and we've incorporated some lighting so people can see that even at night. And there's the kayak launch. That was just going to be a little gravel, but when the prospect of getting a handicapped canoe and kayak launch came along, we wanted to make it ADA accessible. So it's all ready for a floating accessible handicapped launch, assuming the Parks Department and the Heritage Parkway people can come up with the funding to actually install it. But we wanted to put the concrete in now because you didn't want to put that in later after everything else was finished. So that's part of the change order. And you can see the bollards and the lighting that we have along the Riverwalk. This is the first time we've incorporated a shelter and a bridge on the project, so I think there were some electrical things that they wanted to change on the project that would reduce our operating costs with the LED lighting and make it safer and more longer lasting for some of the electrical connections. That's the last of those pictures, and I had one more item to show you on the overhead projector. Kind of shows the overall location of the Boatworks property. The red loop right there is the Riverwalk. The blue section right here is the parking lot that'll be installed later this fall. And we wanted to install the storm sewer underneath the Riverwalk prior to the parking lot being built because we didn't want to have to tear up the Riverwalk to install storm sewer for a parking lot that's going to be built this fall. I mean, it made no sense to tear up the Riverwalk that had been installed 2 months earlier to put the storm sewer in. So that's why we put the storm sewer in earlier than the parking lot's actually going in. I think that about covers what the change order elements are.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Are there any further questions of Mr. Davis?
Two
Mr.
brief
Herman.
questions. You showed those wonderful photographs. Is that section of the trail now open?
People are allowed to go up on the trail. We're going to have a grand opening ceremony after we finish with the parking lot later this fall, but yes, it is open.
Okay. And a second, these are obviously big items. Could you just explain how they're being funded and paid for? I know the grants, you talked about the DNR grants.
Yes.
But they're coming out of a couple different projects.
We've gotten multiple grants from the DNR on this project. In fact, they liked the project so much, they gave us another $363,000 to expand the project. That's allowed us to put the restrooms and the shelter in and the kayak launch. But it does require a local match, and we are using TID 20 funds for the local match. The TID 20, if it can't pay for it, TID 7 is donating any funds that need to go towards that. So there's no general city revenues, it's all TID-related revenues for the match.
Now that this Riverwalk is done, long-term plans were to try to develop the Boatworks. Is that kind of now into your hands to start to market that with Go EDC and?
Yes, we spent about $150,000 or $200,000 tearing down the old blighted properties, and redevelopment is on the Go EDC list and the city's list, and this will be a marketable site. I must say there is contamination on the Boatworks property, so it's not like we're going to be able to sell it for an exorbitant amount of money. We're probably going to be selling it for a discount and helping with the remediation on the site. I think also when we remove the old sanitation garage, that'll help the redevelopment of that site, and I think we're planning on using that building for another couple of years, so I think the Boatworks will be redeveloped, but it might take a couple more years before we get to that point, and unfortunately some remediation costs to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? Thank you, Mr. Davis. I would look for a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Would the city clerk please take the roll?
Peck.
Aye.
Pansky. Aye. Stepanik.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
Allison Osby. Aye. Herman.
Aye.
Mayor Cummings.
Aye.
Carried 7.
We now are at council discussions, direction to city manager, and future agenda items. First is the 2016 budget workshop, August 26 at 5 p.m., room 404. Mr. Roloff, any comments, or?
It's the agenda that we had provided you at the first budget work session. That's where we're planning to work from. We'll be talking to you about mid-year numbers as well. I believe that's part of it. And just projections is where we think we're going to be for the coming year. So 5 until we're anticipating being done at 7 o'clock that evening.
Next, we have discuss implementation of Murdoch Avenue Road Diet. Councilman Clark.
I just wanted to take this opportunity to remind some of our citizens who may not have driven down Murdoch Avenue recently, we did engage in a road diet on Murdoch. This was unanimously approved by the Traffic Review Board. We had some discussion at the council chambers about some bike lanes on this road. Those have not been approved as of yet, so it is right now striped and painted by our city staff with a new lane configuration with 1 lane each direction from Sheridan Street to Wisconsin Avenue with a center turn lane. So right now there are some barrels out there as well to help people adjust to this, but I wanted to make sure that the citizens had an opportunity to know that the change happened and that our goal with this road diet is to promote safety at various intersections to address some of the crashes that have been occurring at Vinland, Elmwood, and Murdoch intersection, as well as the intersection at Wisconsin. So I know that there were some concerns about how this was going to be implemented. The Traffic Review Board, Councilor Herman can probably inform us a little bit more about what the discussions were at that meeting, but the bike lanes are not part of this yet. If we choose to prove that, that would be a council action. But I wanted to take this opportunity to remind our citizens to be mindful and be considerate when driving on Murdoch Avenue, because there is some changes to the traffic patterns.
I'm happy to add and report to the council. The barrels were removed this afternoon. The painting, the line painting is pretty much done. The stop lines need to get done at Wisconsin, so that's in the process. And there's some equipment that needs to get changed, because what we're going to do at Wisconsin is that the light will only change on Murdoch when a car activates it on Wisconsin. So if there's no traffic on Wisconsin, Murdoch will remain green. Is that a pretty fair statement, Jim? So that's what we're working on. But the painting, for all practical purposes, is done. The only lines that had to be scarified or removed were in the middle, and that's actually between the yellow line. So the driving lanes are pretty clean right now. And I know we've gotten a mix of positive and negative comments, as you might imagine. This was not the easiest issue in the world, but we've gotten those comments. One of the things we want to point out is, the bike lanes were not approved. Biking has never been prohibited on that street, and it isn't anymore. But I haven't seen bikes out there. But if people are out there with bikes, that doesn't mean they're doing it illegally. They just don't have the protected bike lane out there. But you may see a bike out there or two. I wouldn't encourage it at this point, though.
Just one comment to follow up on Councilmember Clark's. The concern of the traffic review was really the bike lane, and the discussion once the bike lane was removed from the project, they felt that was the best way to control traffic currently on Murdoch. And I just want to thank Mr. Godey. I was the one that asked for the barrels and the arrows for a short period of time, so that just to get our citizens a little aware that there's a big change at that street, because there's over 10,000 cars that run on Murdoch on an annual basis. And I just thought that I sat there for 15, 20 minutes a couple days after it got put in, and I just saw some confused drivers. They didn't know which lane to really be in, so I thought the barrels would just give them a little bit of sense of the traffic lane designation. So I knew it wasn't going to be a long-term, it was a short-term fix, and that's great. So.
And I'll say kudos to our staff. They had them out before I even got the message to them.
Oh, okay. Well, then they figured it out. Okay, very good. Wow. So, thank you.
Okay, any further discussion on Murdoch? Next, we have a little bit of discussion on exemption of digital cable equipment. If Mr. Roloff would explain that so we all understand it?
That's a tall order, but I will explain as you asked me to. We had put in the newsletter last week, a report from staff that we received a report from the Department of Revenue, the Division of Equalization, that digital cable equipment is now being considered computerized equipment, and so it's now considered exempt. Alan, Mr. Alger was the one who reported that. You want to do it?
Yeah.
That's great. Go ahead.
It's actually not, it is a specific exemption in the statute. We're not alone. Most cities have been taxing them. Time Warner, other companies have been reporting the property as on their taxable forms. The Department of Revenue was made aware of the situation. Actually, I think one of the cable companies sent a request to them to review it. They sent out letters earlier this year. Unfortunately for our case, it happened right at the time we were in Board of Review, and so it didn't get addressed at Board of Review, which is why we anticipate we're going to have to bring something to the council, because whereas some cities start their Board of Review a little later, we were on the job and got it done before we could actually address that issue. It does not exempt all property, but it does exempt things like their coaxial cables, fiber optic cables. Offices would still be taxable. Computer equipment is exempt, but that's actually under a different section. Trying to remember the list off my head. Those are the easy ones I could remember. But
Like the physical structure of a tower was taxable, but the antennas and such on the tower were not taxable.
Correct.
The head end, which is the fancy beginning of the cable system, where the signal is received, that's exempt entirely.
Correct.
I think
There's a whole list.
Part of the cable system is now exempt.
So the bottom line is it's going to have a fiscal impact to our budget?
Yes.
We lost $4 million in value. And you may have heard a few weeks ago that our equalized value went down yet again, and that's in spite of all this building that's going on. In addition to this one, which, based on what the city attorney's saying, that was written into the statutes, they're administratively reducing manufacturing property values without any legislative action whatsoever. And we're seeing reductions, as are other communities throughout the state, but because we have a good number of manufacturing properties in Oshkosh, we're seeing a huge reduction. And that's going to impact our tax rate. It's going to impact our debt ratio, because through no action of our own, through no economic inactivity, through no economic recession, we are seeing our equalized value go down because more and more properties getting exempt. And what that means for the folks at home that are watching is that residential property is going to become a bigger proportion of our taxable base, and the proportion, the pie of the property tax pie is going to shift more towards residential than it is for commercial and manufacturing.
And these are not new statutes? These are already existing statutes?
correct.
Okay, so this doesn't have anything to do with the new state budget that was approved?
No, in fact, some of my interpretation is that some of this is being done administratively at the Department of Revenue. According to Lynn, it's not
Not
this
this
cable
particular-
stuff,
right.
but manufacturing just getting reduced without any legislative action whatsoever.
And the Department of, the Department of Administration is under whose
That's
authority?
Department of Revenue, state agency, cabinet level position.
But their directives come from whose office?
I
Governor's
don't know,
office?
I don't know
Attorney
where these
General's office?
directives are coming from, but I can tell you manufacturing value is going down, and it's not just us. We're having a meeting with some city managers tomorrow, and that's one of the topics of discussion with Jerry DeShane with the league.
What is I was just going to say, what is the league's stance on this? Are
I think
they
the-
looking at putting a resolution together of support, against this, that they want municipalities to come on board? Or have you had any idea of, resolution that would do something, or anything we can do as a community?
I think we're just now starting to become more aware of it, because it's not just an Oshkosh thing or a Fond
Right.
du Lac thing, we're all realizing, are you getting the same experience that we are? Because our equalized values are frozen or going down, and yet we have all this building activity. What's going on? So I think we're now just becoming aware of it, and part of our meeting tomorrow is to discuss that very issue.
Because I think, it doesn't, it impacts us as much as any other community, but to our citizens right now, we need to take as much action as a community to either get it, resolved, turned around, or whatever it takes. But I think if we sit idle and not take an aggressive stance, I guess you could say, then we're not representing our citizens that are affected by this change.
Well said.
So much for property tax relief and local control.
Exactly. There are no further questions.
One more item I'd like to, it's not on the agenda, but for next council meeting, I'd like to get an update of where we're at with the Pioneer Inn property. What changes have happened since July, 4th of July, any improvements, anything that would let us keep going in the direction we're headed with it.
Very good.
Thank you.
Okay. This is the second opportunity to citizens to make statements to council. Statements are limited to 5 minutes, must address items that are not listed on the council meeting agenda, are limited to issues that have an impact in the city of Oshkosh, and the common council may address at a future meeting and must not include endorsements of any candidates or other electioneering.
My name's Gary Gray, 815 West Linwood. Mr. Wolof, did you have a chance to take a look at the possible appeal of the assessments from the Department of Revenue for manufacturing assessments?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I did, and you are correct, and I appreciate you bringing that to my attention, Mr. Gray. That came with part of that discussion that you just heard earlier. We do have the ability to appeal manufacturing assessments. We don't do manufacturing assessments, the state does. So what I mentioned earlier, part of my frustration was just that very point, and you pointed it out to me. So we're looking into it. It is not done on a regular basis, so we're finding out, and part of my discussion tomorrow with my colleagues is to find out who else has done it, and what's been the batting average, because I'm not familiar with other folks doing it, and I appreciate you bringing it to my attention.
Yeah, and quite frankly, from my reading and my experience, I'm not sure if a lot of people are even maybe aware of it, and fewer people are probably trying to do it. Thank you.
Is there anyone that would like to come forward? If not, we will move on to council member announcements and statements, and Mr. Peck, well, it's not on the agenda, has a few things to say. So.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Last Tuesday evening, council members Stepanek, Clark, Mayor Cummings, and I attended 8 out of the 11 various neighborhood get-togethers for Neighborhood Night Out. We do apologize to the 3 associations that we were not able to make, but we did our best. I think all of us had enough hot dogs and brownies and cookies and lemonade
and ice cream,
popcorn to last us quite a while. But the thing, I did want to mention this, is it was great to see neighbors and associations and getting together as groups and celebrating their neighborhoods, and the discussions that we had with citizens of Oshkosh and the direction that the city is taking, as well as the partnership between the neighborhood associations and the neighborhood groups in the city, was really great to hear, and that Oshkosh is indeed moving forward. I heard one comment several times, and this was from longtime residents of the community. The boiled down version is these people have seen where Oshkosh was, they've seen where Oshkosh is, and they know where Oshkosh is headed, and they're very, very happy with what we're doing, and that is why they are investing in their neighborhood associations. So we're looking forward to next year. Hopefully there'll be more, and we'll try and get to as many, but we did our best.
If I could make one correction off of there, I didn't join the road trip, but I made Stevens Park, Menominee, and Millers Bay Association with my wife and daughter, and it was pretty much the same things. They're happy with where we're headed. Stevens Park obviously enjoys their new bathroom and restroom facilities, and there were a lot of families at these events, which I thought was very exciting. And I want to thank the fire department and the police department who were also out, and the planning department who made, I think the South Side events. I was told that they attended most of those. So we all got out and about and heard a lot from our citizens, and it was a great experience, a great event, and I will definitely try to make the South Side ones next year. I've made the North Sides the last couple of years, but not the South Sides, unfortunately. As Mr. Roloff pointed out last year, you just really can't make them off. You spend any amount of time at them. There's just too many
You have
of
to
them.
stop eating.
There's only so many. Right. And maybe in the future, we split up and 2 council members go here, 2 council members go there, and then we can make them all.
And I just wanted to echo the sentiments of our other counselors that it's nice to see families involved and longtime residents being involved in their community. And we're not just paying lip service about being your government. The best way to promote change in your community is to do things in your community and bring things to our attention that we may not necessarily know about. Mr. Gray's pointing out of a possible appeal process to help with our property taxes. That is a great avenue. We all have email addresses and we all have contact information that is listed on the city's website. Feel free to contact us, and it's great to be involved with all of those organizations in our community.
All right, thank you. Now it's my turn to talk about another really great community event that happened this past Saturday. As many people know, I now have a grandson, so I had a reason to go to Touch a Truck at the Leach Amphitheater. He did not cry when he heard horns. He discovered how to hit all of the air horns, but it was just a great event. It was sponsored by the Oshkosh Corporation, hosted by the Oshkosh Parks Department and Friends of the Oshkosh Senior Center. There were a lot of kids' games, which were all put on by various service organizations throughout the city. According to the Parks Department, about 2,500 people attended, and it was just a phenomenal family event. And at the end, there was a movie at the Leach. So write down in your calendar, it'll be held next August. We don't have a date, but August in 2016. But it's just one of those other events that make this city just a great place to raise a family.
Mr. Mayor, if I could just take the liberty, since the meeting looks to be ending at a somewhat decent hour, the last Live at Leach function is tonight. Nashville Pipeline is performing, so that's from 6 to 9. So you've only missed an hour of the event if you're so inclined.
And the public can stop watching us and head down to the Leach.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
And now we'll explain why we're all dressed alike. The mayor's breakfast is this Saturday at the Leach Amphitheater from 7 to 11 a.m. It's $5. It's scrambled eggs, sausage, hash browns, donut holes, ice cream. We'll be serving coffee. It's all you can eat, so we encourage, and the weather's supposed to be
Wonderful,
perfect.
beautiful weather, sunny and high of 87. But in the morning, we're not going to be all that hot, so it'll be nice, sunny and 70 degrees in the morning to start the day.
Well, a nice breeze anyway at the Leach, so. we'll
There's
be
a lot
fine.
of kids' games, bouncy houses, face painting, so, bring the family down, and there's also the Gus Macker going on Main Street and the farmers market, so it's a chance for really, not only citizens, but anyone to really come down and get a chance to kind of stroll and see all the activity in historic downtown Oshkosh. So with that, shameless plug, plugs, I would look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Adjourn.
Thank you.